Mark Rogers TV back with you to talk some ACC football with Georgia Tech off to a fine 2-0 start after a 35-10 win over Mercer. Staying at home, taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores out of the SEC East. So, of course, it's a Georgia game at the end of each schedule, but they tack on another SEC East opponent. We bring in Joey Weaver from the Rumble seat to help us set this one up. All right, Joey, back from Ireland. Glad you had a nice time there. We're able to take in not just the scenery and the festivities, but a win in the last 35 seconds against Boston College. So that kind of sets the stage for this game, as you're already 1-0 in the ACC. So it's got to feel good regardless of maybe some concerns going forward. So, man, let's start from the top with Justin Thomas at quarterback. He's only been asked to throw it 25 times in the first couple games. A lot of different guys carrying the football as well, not just one or two players, but the attempts have been spread across the board. So what have you seen out of the offense the first couple games?
This year, Justin Thomas has time to throw, and he's making the most of it. He hit a couple of deep passes in the Boston College game. One in particular, he had a 19-yard or 22, 23-yard completion on 4th and 19 to extend their final drive, set up the game-winning score. So looking better in the passing game. Ricky June looks like he's evolved as a wide receiver, which is awesome to see. Like it still has a ways to go. It's improving as we go. Quay Searcy is an A-back, looked really good last year in the first few games before he got injured against Notre Dame, broke his leg, season was over. But he's come back this year and through 2 games looks really, really good, has done well both in the running game and the passing game, and against Mercer most recently. So I think things are coming around. This season certainly looks like it's going to go better than 2015 did for Georgia Tech. But there's still maybe a little bit of uneasiness I haven't seen a performance from the offense yet that makes me think, yes, this team can go beat the teams that it's supposed to on the schedule.
Well, despite an anemic performance offensively at times against Boston College, obviously we take into consideration the Eagles have been one of the better defensive units in college football in recent years and may again be this season. Also, when you needed it, you made big plays on that final drive, converted like a 26-yarder to Ricky June, also had a 4th and 19 conversion. So this offense is going to at least have that knowledge that they've been able to pull through in the clutch if they need to do that again.
Exactly. It's confidence inspiring, and you've seen Justin Thomas make a couple plays too. Earlier in that final drive against Boston College, there was a play, I think the first play of the drive, he was going to drop pass and was dead to rights. I mean, he was being tackled, defensive lineman, for about a 12-yard sack. It throws the ball away for just an incompletion, no loss. And that was a huge play that probably changed a little more maturity from him, too, of not totally panicking and trusting the guys around him a little more than maybe he was a year ago. So the confidence for the offense is a huge deal for Georgia Tech right now, and it needs to keep building as they keep going.
Of course, you're going to run the ball in this game, as you will in every other game. But at the same time, when you look at this Vandy defense that has a solid reputation, they got hit up for 400 yards passing against Middle Tennessee State. Even the previous week in losing to South Carolina, you won't see big numbers in the box score, but South Carolina was completely shut down for the first half and didn't really start to make a comeback and pull that game out from a 10-0 deficit until they threw the ball downfield. So there might be some plays in the passing game downfield.
Absolutely. It looks like those opportunities are there. Like you said, I mean, Middle Tennessee State threw for almost 400 yards in that game last week. And that's the thing that I think was a little underrated last year of what was causing problems for Georgia Tech is the passing game. It's as much of a run-heavy offense as Georgia Tech is. Throw the ball to be able to back the defense off and give them room to operate in the running game. I think that's something you'll definitely see against Vanderbilt, a very good front seven. So if they're able to cheat and put backs, Georgia Tech's going to have a really hard time operating in this game. And so you'll probably see them make an effort sporadically throughout the game to drop a few deep passes in there to try to back off the safeties and get their offense some room to work in the box.
Not to get ahead of ourselves, Joey, but looking at the schedule and only 5 days to prepare for Clemson, that's going to be quite the slap in the face to this defense because Vandy's not going to prepare it for Clemson, nor the first two opponents. You're probably in BC and Vandy seeing two of the worst offenses in FBS football in the Power 5. And Vandy, they throw it a little bit better by indication that they did last season even, and that's a quarterback in Kyle Shermer completing 46% of his passes. Really, they're going to hit you with a power running game, and they did that very well last week against Middle Tennessee State and against an SEC front in South Carolina. So that's going to be they're going to test your manhood if nothing else.
Yeah, it's similar to what we saw against Boston College 2 weeks ago, where the Eagles love to run John Hill and bring the tackles up the middle, sledgehammer type of guy, a lead. They're going to see something very similar on Saturday, Vanderbilt against Ralph Webb. He's going to get the ball about 20 to 25 times. He's going to run between the tackles, and that's going to be the basis of their offense. And you're right that is like a pretty good departure from what they're going to see 5 days later when Clemson comes to town. They're going to spread it out and make you run laterally and throw the ball down the field and all this. And so it certainly doesn't help the defense to be preparing for totally different styles of offense week in and week out here in the early going. Hopefully it is a little bit helpful for them just against Vanderbilt, having seen a similar offense and system and style just a few weeks prior against Boston College.
Joey, I typically hit you up for some players that are a bit off the radar, and specifically in the offseason, guys that we can look forward to. So through the first 2 weeks, was there anybody that jumped out at you that maybe you didn't expect to have an impact, but you've been pleasantly surprised with going into this Vandy game?
Well, Dedrick Mills at B-back is a true freshman. He enrolled back in January, was named the starter going into the Boston College game, and that's exceedingly rare for Paul Johnson to have a true freshman starting game one at B-back. That's very rare, so it speaks to his physicality and what he's been able to do so far. He scored the game-winning touchdown against Boston College. Another guy that I've been impressed by so far is J.J. Green, transfer from Georgia. He played a little bit of running back, a little bit of safety there. He's playing A-back at Georgia Tech, that slot back position. Especially, he hasn't really gotten his hands on the ball a whole lot. He had a really nice kick return, I thought, against Boston College, but he's especially done well at blocking the A-back position. He's not a big guy, but he's been very physical. And he's a very physically gifted and talented guy. So I think J.J. Green's done really well at the same time. Hard to say. I don't think there's really been any true freshman impact makers here so far. One of the guys we saw a little bit of against Mercer is Brandon Adams, who hopefully is able to, in his time, kind of change the look of that defense. He's about a 340-pound defensive tackle.
All right, it's Georgia Tech and Vandy just 5 days before the Yellow Jackets have to face number 3 Clemson, or wherever they're ranked in the poll. It doesn't matter at this point, but they're somewhere in the top 5 after a disappointing effort against Troy. I think they've slid to 5th, but regardless, it's the Clemson Tigers 5 days later, and I think that will be obviously a big test as well. But can't look past the Commodores. Joey Weaver from the Rumble seat helping us break down Georgia Tech and Vandy. Thanks a lot, Joey.